My brothers and sisters in Christ, in today's first reading we hear the famous words of Koheleth, "O vanity of vanities, all is vanity," says Koheleth. And thus we begin our reflections on the book of Ecclesiastes, a book that is often very challenging for us to read. Many don't know what to make of this book and its contents. In fact, the contents can seem downright depressing without the correct lens. And so when we look at these beginning words, this theme of vanity, Koheleth, this figure, is looking for, if you will, kind of the meaning of life. And so first of all, we need to understand Koheleth, this figure. So Koheleth is actually where the name of the book comes from. Koheleth is a Hebrew word. Ecclesiastes is how it's translated into the Greek. However, this name itself is not a proper name. This isn't about a person named Koheleth, but it's actually a reference to a preacher or a wisdom figure. We can presume, as the book is composed in Hebrew, that this is kind of if you will, a synagogue official, someone preaching, speaking in this way. And so, Koheleth is, and he writes, as son of David, he puts himself, so connecting himself to the lineage of David. Ultimately, all we need to know, he's a wisdom figure. And so, in the fullness of the Jewish tradition, Koheleth, this figure, is reflecting upon where is one to derive meaning. And of course, we hear in today's words and the words that will follow, and the laments of vanity, of, okay, am I to find it in life and health? Well, no, this is vanity. What about in riches and wealth? No, not that. What about good things? What about the people? What about all this? And he'll proceed through, and what we can find depressing at first glance is no matter what good thing he talks about, he says ultimately it's nothing. It's worth nothing. And so, where Ecclesiastes ultimately leads us, the reflections of Koheleth in this tradition of the wisdom literature, leads us to the foundation of God. That all things in life that we cling to are good, but they're good only in the context of God. They're good only because God has created them as such. But nothing in this life is an end to itself, whether it is the creation, the world itself, the objects, the riches we get, the passing pleasures, all of these things are not ends to themselves. That's not what we live for. Can they be enjoyed? Sure. But they're not what we live for, because ultimately it's all vanity. If we cling to this and attempt to derive our happiness, our foundation from these things, we'll be left holding empty-handed. And so, these words that at first glance seem depressing are actually a reminder to us that all things in this life are fleeting, and therefore we must find the one essential thing, which is God Himself. Now, of course, these words are being written in the Old Testament tradition before the fullness of the revelation of Jesus Christ. And so the beauty for us as Christians is we know that God has fulfilled His promises in His law by sending His own Son. He is drawn close to us, and therefore He asks us to cling to Him. Our destiny is Christ. And so while God has given us all these good things in this life, as long as we cling to them, as long as we attempt to derive our happiness from created things, we will ultimately fall short of the happiness we seek, because there is nothing eternal in that. Only in Christ Himself, in our union with Him, will we find our lasting joy, our lasting peace, the true meaning of all things. To quote Koheleth, all else is vanity. And so, my brothers and sisters in Christ, as we hear over the next few days these reflections of Koheleth, may we think of all the things in our lives that we falsely cling to or that we try to give us happiness. And may we instead be reminded to enjoy that which is around us for the goodness it has, but to utilize all things in creation to find that perfect union in Christ forever. May God bless you.